Start recording. Yes. Okay. So yesterday actually we have taken some introduction session regarding to the C language, but this batch is C++. I think you should know that basics of C language, that is what is function, what do you mean by structure, what do you mean by string, what do you mean by array. Okay, so this all the things actually these are the prerequisite of the C++, but actually we will again recall it when that particular topic gets started. So we'll start with the very traditional introduction, that is C++. What is C++ and when it was being developed? So it is a middle level programming language just like your C language, and developed by the Bjarne Stroustrup in the year 1979. Okay, so you can see here in the C language has been invented in 1970, and in 1979 actually this C++ has been invented in AT&T Bell Laboratory, where the C has been born. The developer is the Bjarne Stroustrup. You can run the C++ program on a different platform like Windows, Mac OS, and the different version of the Linux. But it doesn't make that you cannot say that your C++ is a platform independent language. It is a platform dependent language. So why? Because the same source file, if you are taking the source file, and if you want to execute that source file into the different platform, first you need to compile on that platform first, and that compiled version of that C++ file will get run on only on that platform only. So the compile version of your Windows operating system, in Windows operating system, if you compile the C++ program, the same exe file you cannot run on Mac OS or the Linux. So that's why if you can see that here C++ is a platform dependent language, unlike your Java. Java is a platform independent language. Platform independent means once you compile the program, that compiled program you can run on any platform. That is known as platform independent. Okay. So the next one is the why we should learn C++. What is the need of C++? Okay, so it is very close to hardware, as we have discussed earlier in the last session. C and C++ are very close to hardware. Using C and C++, you can directly communicate with the hardware. So you can easily do the hardware programming using a C++. So you can get a chance to work at a low level. Okay, so for embedded programmer, if you want to get into the embedded system, embedded programmer, then C and C++, these are the very good choice for you. Rather using the C language, most of the people are using C++ for embedded system. Why? Because its performance and it support the object-oriented concept. As it support the object-oriented concept, now you can relate your hardware with a real life. And C++ gives the clear understanding about the OOP. So you will understand low-level implementation of polymorphism, where you can implement the virtual tables and virtual table pointers. Okay, so we will see this concept of virtual tables and the virtual table pointers when we start with the polymorphism things, how that virtual table has been generated for the functions. C++ support the polymorphism means we can write the different function with the same name. There are the different implementation of the same function. The name is same, but the implementation are different. So how actually that get mapping in a background, we will see in the next sessions. Also, C++ is one of the evergreen language and loved by millions of software developers. So here, actually, if you want to get into the C plus embedded system, actually this is the very good choice. So most of the C++ programmer are having the highest paid job. C++ is most widely used programming language in the application and the system programming. Yes, system programming means if you want to design your compiler, then the C++ is the first choice of the developers. And C++ really teaches you the difference between compiler, linker, loaders, different data types, storage classes, variable types, and their scopes. So we'll see one by one this, what done by this linker, loaders, and the scopes. The next one is the very first C++ program. Actually, yesterday we have executed the very first C language program, but we have not executed C++. Sorry. So today itself, actually, we'll write our first C++ program, and then we are trying to execute it. So very first line of your program is hash include IOStream. So as your C language program start with the hash include stdio.h, but here C++ program start with the IOStream. So IOStream is nothing but here input output stream. This is very similar like your header file, standard input output header file. So it contains the different objects related to the input outputs. So in other words, you can say that it contains the input stream as well as the output stream objects. Your C++ program is an object-oriented program. So that's why actually in C++ program, we can use printf, scanf function also. But as we want to write only the object-oriented program, we must use the object instead of using the functions. Okay, so there is an input function, input object and output object for this stream, input stream and output stream. So if you want to use it, then you should include this IOStream. Then next one is the namespace. We want to include the namespace. So here the namespace is very similar like your package in the Java. So whatever the classes for this particular object you have written, its namespace is defined. So it means that if you want to access the object of that classes, if you want to create the object of the classes, or if you want to access the class, you should include the namespace. You should specify that I want to use a particular class in this namespace. Using the namespace is important one, because here if you are using the namespace, then it might happen that the same class name, okay, you can use the same class name in a different namespaces. So one namespace, suppose one namespace is there having the class as a suppose student. Second namespace is also there having the class as a student itself. So it means that the first namespace is having the different implementation of the student. The second namespace is having the different implementation of the student. So what you want, which implementation you want, that implementation, if you want to use, then you should include this first line using namespace std. So it means that you are using a standard namespace. Std means standard namespace, std names, which is included in your IOStream. So why I'm writing here std, because I'm going to use here objects, cout object. This cout object is present in the std. Cout is the object which is present in std. Cout is a static object. It is present into the std namespace. So that's why we want to include this namespace. Then after that, our traditional main function. Why main function we are writing? Because main function is the starting point of our program. Whatever the first instruction that you are writing into the C++ program in your main function, that is being executed firstly, and your program is executed until you are in a main function. If the last instruction has been executed, And if the main function completes, your program get complete, your process get terminated. So your C++ program is having the life until you are in a main function. But you can call the different function from the main function, but momentarily that transfer of the control of your CPU get happen. It will execute the different function and again it will come back to the main function. But when the last instruction of the main function get executed, your program get terminated. So that's why we must write your main function. Main function is the life of your program. The first instruction, your process born, last instruction, your process end. So here different implementation of the main function. We already know that void main, int main. But I prefer always, if you are a Linux programmer, then always prefer the int main. Why int main? Because here the main is returning an integer. The meaning of int main is returning an integer value. To whom this main function is returning? To the operating system. Main function is called by the operating system. So that's why whatever the value, return value, that is being returned to the operating system. And from that return value, operating system can decide that is it normal termination or is it an abnormal termination. Main function or the any function can have the different return values at a different points. If one of the particular condition is get satisfied, then suppose if you want to return a particular value, then you can also include it. So if the variable is there, if a is equal to 0, and if you want to do a division and a is a denominator, and if a equal to 0, you can't do the division. So that's why you can put there if a equal to 0, return -1. It means that whenever there is a denominator as a 0, you are returning a -1, and from that return value of your process, you can decide that the a value is 0, so make sure that a cannot be 0. Okay, so generally the return value is for the programmer debug. It is generally used for the debugging purpose, where from your program get terminated. Next one is the very first line is the main function. In the main function is a cout hello world. This is very similar like your printf hello world, but here printf is a function, cout is an object. That is the difference between printf and cout. So what is doing here, hello world is the string, and you are redirecting, you are giving this string to the cout object. So here this is known as the insertion operator. This insertion operator insert this hello world into the cout. Your C++ support the operator overloading. So in the cout object, actually this insertion operator has been overloaded such that this string, whenever you are getting the string as an input, then that is being given to the input for the cout object, and the cout object will do the console output. So hello world will be provided to the input to the cout. Cout will do remaining things, and you will get a hello world on your console. So it prints hello world. Then after that, return 0. Now 0 represent the normal termination. 0 always represent normal termination. If I'm putting 1 here instead of 1, then it having the different meaning, but it doesn't make any difference. It doesn't give any type of error here. You can have return 5000 also, but normally we are putting return 0. 0 represent in the debugging program. If you are getting 0, it means that you are in the last line of the program. So last line of your program always should be return 0. So got it? Everyone get it? Whatever I am telling. If you are getting this point, just type yes in the chat box. Just type S in the chat box if you are getting all the points, or otherwise if you have any type of confusion, then you can directly ask me. Okay, so should I move forward? Okay, so next one is the C++ compiler. Now these are some C++ compilers present in the market. Actually, I'm going to use the first one, Apple C++.xcode, because my MacBook is there. On MacBook, you have to use it, Apple C++ Xcode. In that Xcode, actually, I'm using G++ compiler. But in a market, there are the different types of the compilers. You can use any one of it. If you have the Turbo C, you can also do the, but I never give you that type of the statement that never use the Turbo C if you want to get into place in your reputed industry. So always use your GCC or the G++. So if you have the Windows operating system, then, and if you want to use the GCC, then you should use the MinGW. This one, MinGW, minimalist GNU for the Windows. But you have to use one of the IDE. Okay, so which IDE you want to use? If you want to use the MinGW, I will tell you. Then if you are using the Linux operating system, you have the GNUCC source file known as a G++, and the different implementation of the C++ compiler, so they are depending on its hardware structure: IBM C++, Intel C++, Microsoft Visual C++, Oracle, HP. Okay, but the program will be run on every compiler. Now next one is the application of C++ programming. So very first application is the software development. Okay, so we can do the different software development in a C++ for the different operating system like Windows, Mac OS, and the Linux. Again, apart from the operating system, actually, the core part of many browsers like Mozilla Firefox, Chrome has been written in C++. So always remember that if you want to communicate with the hardware, then your program should be written in C++. And if you are actually directly dealing with the user, then you can select the higher level language like Java or the .NET. But suppose for underlying hardware, suppose you want to do something, for example, if you want to access the network NIC card, then you should use the C++. And again, better to use C++ for the better performance. If you are comparing the two programs which has been doing same, one program is from C++, another program is from the .NET or the Java, then C++ program is the faster one, very faster. Again, second application is the programming language development. Yes, using C++, you can design a compiler like a Python. The Python compiler has been developed in a C++. Your C language compiler can also be developed in C++. So most of the programming language development has been done in a C++ language. Computation programming, C++ is the best friend of the scientist because of its fast speed and the computational efficiency. Yes, because directly your program, C++ program, get converted into the machine language, and that machine language program is directly run on your hardware. So that's why it's the fastest language. Game development, again, why game development uses C++? Because we require the speed, we require the real-time experience. So that's why most of the games have been developed in a C++. Again, embedded system, you know that here, just take an example of your Arduino or 8051 or any microcontroller. You can develop that embedded program in a C as well as in a C++ language. Most of the ATMs if you go into the ATM, then that program that you are actually executing on a ATM, that program will be developed in a C++ itself, because there the speed matters. So every transaction, and it should be secured. So that's why the embedded system, in embedded system, we can also design your program in C++, and that is the one of the application of your C++ language. Now next one is the different data types, primitive data types present in C++. So C language, we know that C language is having the 4 basic data types: character, integer, float, and the double. But here the different data types has been added, like a bool. Bool is the one of the data type added, known as a boolean. It means that we can store the true and false. We can store the true and false. The bool, in bool variable, actually we can store the 0 or non-zero value. 0 represent the false, non-zero represent the true. But it is the the size required for the bool is only single bit. The remaining is character is same. The size is 1 byte. Integer, yes, 2 or 4 bytes. Float, 4 bytes. Double, 8 bytes. Void is one of the data type, but actually if you are creating the void variable, then there is no meaning here, because its size is not defined. But still we can create the variable with a void keyword. So, and one character data type has been added, wchar_t. This is known as a void character. Generally, this wchar_t has been newly introduced in C++ to support the Unicode value, Unicode characters. For example, if you want to type into your mother tongue, or suppose in my mother tongue, suppose Marathi. So if I want to show something, my output in Marathi, then actually there is one character set has been defined for every character for Marathi. That is known as a wchar_t. We can store that Unicode character into it. In simple character variable, we can store only the ASCII value, and the ASCII value only support the English language and some special symbols. And wchar_t is having the size of 2 bytes, in which we can actually store or represent any language on the earth, any language on the earth. Now next one is the modifiers for the data types. Modifiers actually modify the basic meaning of the data type. For example, take the example of integer. If you are doing only integer a, the meaning is that we can store the positive value as well as the negative value inside it. But suppose I want to create one integer in which I can only store the value without positive or negative, that is unsigned. So to create that type of the variable, there is a modifier name as a unsigned. Okay, so the sign and unsigned. Sign variable means we can store the positive as well as negative, and unsigned means we can store the values without any sign, positive or negative. From 0 onwards we can store that value. Next one is short and long. These are applicable to the integer. Short int always give the size of 2 bytes. Long int always give the size of 4 byte. Now these are the range. These are the range for the every data type. First one is character. Character, the size is 1 byte. Range is given as -120. I must correct here. It is -128 to +127. -128 to +127. If the character is the by default sign character. By default it is a sign one, so that's why its a range is this one, -128 to +127. Now the next one is the unsigned char. Unsigned char means the negative or the positive you cannot store. So the minimum value that we can store inside the unsigned carry is 0. The maximum is 255, that is all ones. 1 byte means 8 bits. If you want to find out the minimum value, then all zeros. If you want to find out maximum value, all ones. Just convert it into the decimal, you will get the minimum and maximum value. Sign character also minus 127 to, not 127, it should be minus 128 to 127. So you should correct it. So sign character is having the range of minus 128 to plus 127. The next one is the integer, is the size is 4
So
bytes.
what's the difference between car and signed car?
Char and the sign char. Okay, actually that's writing the sign in front of the char is not mandatory here. If you are only writing the char here, then it means that it is a sign char. So there is no such a difference between the sign char and char. So writing this sign in front of the char is not mandatory. By default, it is a sign char. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Explicitly, if you want to define that this char is a sign one, that's why you should write there sign char. So it is only for the user, that is this char is my sign character. Okay, explicitly I'm mentioning. Okay. Next one is int, 4 bytes, its range is given. Unsigned integer 4 bytes, range is given from 0 to this one, very big number. Sign integer again 4 bytes. Yeah, it is sign integer and int is one of the same thing. You can see here range is very same. Next one is short int. The short int, as I have told you, short int, the size of the short int is 2 bytes. Always 2 bytes. In Turbo C++, it is 2 bytes. In G++, also 2 bytes. So its range is minus 32,768 to plus 32,767. Actually, how it comes 32,767? Because out of that 2 bytes means 16 bits. Out of the 16 bits, 1 bit is reserved for storing that plus minus, the MSB bit, and the remaining 15 bits are used to store our data. So 15 bits we have to store our data. So 2 raised to 15, you get it as a 32,767. And if you are getting all ones means that is your negative number. If the first one is 1, if first MSB bit is 1, then it is a negative number. So if it is a negative number, then that negative number, if you are actually converting into the decimal, then it becomes minus 32,768. So got it? We can apply the sign and unsigned to short int also. So unsigned short int means 0 to 65,535. Actually, why we are taking this? Because depending on our application, what number we want to store into that variable, depending on that, we are deciding the data type of that variable. Suppose you want to store 50,000. If you want to store 50,000 and you are working on an embedded system, if you are using directly integer, then it means that you are using 4 bytes here. And if you are storing only 50,000 number, but the same 50,000 number you can store inside the unsigned short int, and the size required is only 2 bytes. So here you are saving the 2 bytes of the memory. This is very precious memory in the embedded system, because you know that here for every embedded processor, the RAM memory is a very limited memory, just like 4 kilobytes for the 8051. So every byte is important there. To save every byte, it is very important one. So that's why we must know that here the range. Signed short int is having the range of same as that of your short int. Long int. Now long int is having the size of Here it is given 8 bytes, but it is not 8 bytes. It is 4 bytes. Okay, I have taken this from the actually internet, so that's why there is some problem. There is some problem here. Signed long int is also having the size of the 4 bytes. Unsigned long int is also having the size of 4 bytes. Long int is having the size of 8 bytes. Yes. Now it is the new data type that has been added. Unsigned long int is also a size of 8 bytes. Float is having the size of 4 bytes. Double is having the size of 8 byte. And long double is having the size of 12 bytes. Okay, so I will again play the slideshow. Okay, so just make a note, long int 4 bytes, the range is given. Sign long int 4 bytes, yeah, same as the long int. Unsigned is somewhat different. It starts with the 0 up to this. The number is not correct here. Okay, so I will correct all these things and I will mail to you. Long int is again same, 2�63. Yes, very long. Unsigned is again same. Float 4 bytes, double 8 bytes, long double 12 bytes, and wchar is 2 bytes actually, not 4 bytes. Wchar underscore t is the 2 bytes wide character to store the Unicode character. Now to check that here, what is the size of the every data type in your compiler, because it can vary from compiler to compiler. So you need to execute this program. So this is actually your homework, your assignment. You can take a snapshot of it, or otherwise very simple one, cout size of char and the size of char. So size of is an operator which will give the size of any variable or the data type. You can put it here variable as well as your data type. So whatever the size is get replaced here. So it will print all the sizes of all the data types. So just take a snapshot of it and then you should execute it. Now we will move forward to your practical demonstration. So how your program gets being started, actually will.
So the size means the number of bytes, right?
Yes. First tell me what done by variable. The variable is nothing but a number. It is a name given to the memory storage. Suppose you want to store a number 10 into your computer memory. So what you need to do first? You need to first allocate some byte of the memory. Okay, so suppose you are allocating the 4 bytes. But how to access that memory? To access the memory, actually, we should give some name to that memory. So that is known as your variable name. So the size of that variable or the size of the data type of that variable is nothing but the size of the allocated memory. If you allocated the 4 bytes, if the data type has been allocated the 4 bytes, it means that the size of that variable or the size of the data type is the 4 bytes. So using the size of operator, actually we can get that number. What is the memory allocated by that particular variable or the data type? Got it? Get it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So we will directly move towards the terminal. Okay, so I have created one folder CPP in that previous folder, C_lang_practice that we have created yesterday, and I am into the CPP folder. You can check it out here, PWD, using the PWD. Okay, now next one is I want to write one C++ program. Okay, so how to write here? So first one is, the same technique, nano, and the name of the file. Suppose the name of the file is, suppose I'm giving the name as a hello1.cpp. Okay, I'm giving the name as hello1.cpp. This is the name of my file. So as you enter, you are in editor now. Now you can type your program. Now we know that the very first line is the hash include IO stream, and we know that what is IO stream. IO stream is contains the objects of the all input outputs, that is C in and C outs. Okay, and next one is I want to use here C out object, so that's why we can use here using namespace std, because cout is in a std namespace, so we should include here the std namespace here. Then after that, main function. Now in a main function, I'm writing here return 0 first, because I'm writing return here mint main, and then after that our first program, that is hello world program. So I'm using the cout object and using the insertion operator. I want to insert this hello world. I want to insert the hello world into the cout. I can put it here /n, or instead of putting the /n, we can use one more object known as a endl object. This endl object is again present in std namespace. Endl represent end line, insert the end line. So after the hello world, end line has been inserted. So this is my program. Program has been written successfully. Now press Ctrl X, Y, and the enter. So I am out of that editor. Now you can check here the content of the hello1.cpp. Yeah, it is perfectly fine. Now I want to compile it. So for compilation, I'm using G++ compiler. G++ compiler is for the compilation of C++ file, G++, and then hello1.cpp. G++ hello1.cpp will create one object file, output object file, if my program is syntaxically correct. Okay, so we'll check here. We'll given that file into the G++ compiler. It will check the syntax error. If there is any syntax error, it will give the error. If there is no syntax error, then it will generate the a.out file. You can see here one a.out file has been created here, a.out. Now I want to execute that a.out file. So just I will need to execute it by using /a.out, and my program has been successfully executed hello world. It will be printed as a hello world. Got it? And the new line is also inserted. If there is no endl is there, then this after this hello world and this exclamatory mark, this prompt is started from here itself. Got it? So in this way, actually, we can use the terminal to do a program. So if I want to again edit it, I can also go to the nano hello1.cpp. I can just add some numbers here or statements here, just like cout, and suppose my company name I want to give here, and okay, here I'm using /n instead of using that endl. I'm using /n. So there's no difference between the /n and endl. /n is a new line character that can be inserted into your string. So Ctrl X, Y, and enter. Now you have modified the file, so you need to recompile it. So I'm recompiling it. It takes some time, and then after that I want to execute it. So executed GB software solution is the first line. On second line, hello world. So then again, by default here the a.out file has been created. Every time the by default a.out file. If you want to give your object name explicitly, then you can use this method -o, and suppose my object name is hello and then hello1.cpp. You can use this command G++ -o hello space hello1.c++, and then just press enter. And when you are typing again ls, you can see here one more executable file has been created, hello. You can check here its executable permission. So hello is having the X permission here. A.out is also having the X permission, and you can see here hello is having the latest It is a latest file. So how to execute the hello? To execute the hello file, just we need to use the ./hello, and it is get executed perfectly. Sorry. So have you understood this? This process. Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Any doubt in this? Any doubt in this? No? Okay, so we'll move forward. Okay, so can you tell me, suppose there is one variable name as a integer a, okay, and suppose there is another variable integer b, and suppose if a is equal to 10 and suppose b is equal to 20, okay, and I want to print here value of a and value of b. So how to print? Using the cout. Can anybody tell me how to print the value of a and value of b here?
So first we need to store the value of A and B, no, sir.
Yeah, I have already stored a is equal to 10, b is equal to 20. So
I
here
mean, like
value
in C
of
language we use
a,
scanf, no, sir.
yes. So I have initialized that variable as a as a 10. Variable a as initialized as a 10. So a contains 10 and b contains 20. Now I want to print this value. I want to print this value. So how to print? So very simple one. The value of a equal to double quote complete, and then after that again one more insertion operator, and only variable name you want to only insert here, and then after that you can put it here endl. So this is somewhat different format. This is somewhat different format that than your C language is using. In a C language actually we are using the format specifier there, but here in a C++ no need to use the format specifier. Directly we can put it here, this one, that is value of a, and a get the value of a is replaced here, and then after that one more new character, that is endl character, has been inserted, then value of b has been inserted there. So what is, so I will check it, this program, is it correct or not. So just again make the g++ -o hello hello1.cpp, and then after that /hello. So perfectly fine. So my value of a is 10 and value of b is 20. So it is perfectly fine. So what is this program? Int a, int b, two values I am giving, two variables I am creating, and then after that I am initializing that value and I am printing that value. Got it? So you can actually define, or you can declare these two variables in a same single line, that is int a comma b, just like your C language program. Int a comma b, your two variables has been created. Here also you can also use the same thing, a is equal to 10 and b is equal to 20. Okay, this is also C language format, or instead of this you can also, if you confuse it, then you can still use the your legacy format, a is equal to 10 semicolon, b is equal to 20. Okay, but here the problem with the program is that always the result is value of a is 10 and value of b is 20, always it is the result. So can I take the value of a from the user? Can I take the value from the user? Yes, using the in C language actually we are using scanf function to take the user input. So what is the object here which is being used to take the user input? So I'm entering enter the value of a. Okay, so this is my statement, but after the statement I must use your cin object. So what the cin object is doing, cin represent console input, cout represent console output. Cin means whatever the input that you are taking from the console actually given to. Now see the direction of this insertion operation. It is towards the variable. It is toward the variable. So it means that from the C in, you are going to the A. So it means that whatever the content of C in, whatever you are typing, it is going to store into the variable A. Here again, no need to type here the format specifier. Automatically the format specifier is been decided here. Value of B, enter the value of B, and then again C in, and then B. So here I'm taking the value of A from the user, as well as I'm taking the value of B from the user, and whatever the value that the user has been typed or given, that is being actually printed here. So just check that program. Again, I'm doing G++ -o hello1.cpp, and then after compilation, I'm executing this program. Now it will wait, enter the value of A. After printing the enter the value of A, actually the statement is C in. Now C in is a blocking call. Blocking call means it will wait until you press something, you give some inputs here. So it will wait for single input. So I'm inputting a 45 here and press enter. When I press enter, the second cout will be execute, enter the value of B. After the second cout, actually there is one more cin function, cin object. That cin object is the again blocking call. It will wait until you are typing something. For example, I'm typing 80 here. Again you are pressing enter, so that 80 will be given to the B, and here you are getting the value of A as 45 and the value of B as 80. So got it? Everyone get it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I want reply from others also. Everyone getting this point? If you have the doubt at any point now, just stop me. I will clear your doubts. So this point is not understood. Yes. Yes. Okay.
So can you just go back to the program? So
Yes. Yes, this is the program. Any doubt? Okay. Now here, this A and B I have created in a main function. So what that A and B variables are known as? What is the type of this variable? Can you tell me? Can
global
anybody?
variable.
Which one?
Global variables. Global
Global or
variables.
global or local?
It's global. So because at AN, I don't know. I think A and B can be used anywhere.
A and B can be used anywhere. If it is global, then I can use A and B outside main function also, if it is global. So just think about,
Oh,
is it local or global?
it's local. I think so. Yeah.
Yes, it is local variable. Why local? If the block is defined, how to remember that it is the variable is local or global? If this block is there, just look at this block. If this block is there, this variable are created inside the block. If it is inside the block, then it is local to the block. Very simple. If it is inside the block, it is local to that particular block only. So it means that within that block only this variable is accessible. But what about the global variable? What about global variable? How to create global variable? Suppose if I want to create the global
It'll be
variable,
outside.
I can,
It'll
yes,
be
I can.
before a block. Yeah.
Yes, I can create the global variable outside the main function. If I'm creating the outside function, main function, then it is known as a global variables. Got it? So it means that here main function can also directly access. So here you can directly access the value of x is equal to value of x. Okay, so this is the actually one question for you. Just prepare for the next question. value of y is equal to y and L. Okay, so here I am not taking any values. I'm not taking any values. Okay, and here. So by looking at the program, can you able to tell me what is the output that I'm getting? A value, B value, X value, and Y value. Just look at the program. This is the not a C language program. This is not a C++ program. This is just like a C language program. Just replace C out by printf statement, and it is just a C language program.
So it prints all the 4 statements.
Yeah, it prints all portion, but what is the value that is being printed? First, value of A, value of B, value of X, and value of Y. What are that values?
Value of A is A, sir.
Value of A is A. A means what? Here A doesn't contains anything here. You are not
So I don't think it'll print.
A, you are not initialize B. You are
There's
not
no input, sir. There's no input, so I don't think it'll print anything. It'll be null.
null means null.
So you can write another
Null.
statement.
Yes. Here I have not initialized it. If my question is, what happen if you have not initialized the local variable and the global variable? What happened, or what is the content of that variable? That is my question. That's the question I want to ask. So anyone? No? So this is my program. I am compiling this program. And after running, my output should be okay. So first I'm telling the output, and let's check it is correct or not. Okay, so value of A and value of B, value of X, and value of Y. Okay, if you actually learn the C language properly, then you can able to answer this very easily. Why? Because in a C language, actually there are one chapter named as a data types. Okay, in the data types, actually it is clearly mentioned that if your variable is the local variable, and if it is not initialized, the default initial value of the local variable is the garbage value. Can you able to recall it? The default initial value of the local variable are always the garbage value. And what is the garbage value? Garbage value is the any unpredictable value. So what value it is get printed, I don't know. Here any value can be printed, positive, negative, any value. Here B also having the any value here. But what about X and Y? Now X and Y, it is not a local variable, it is the global variable. If it is global variable, then the default initial value of the global variable is 0. Got it? The default initial value. Now what do you mean by default initial value? If the variable is not initialized, the compiler will assign the value, some value to that particular variable. So local variable, any value is not assigned. So that's why the any content it can take. So the cleared memory we cannot get in terms of your local variable. But in case of your global variable, we can get the cleared memory because it is stored in your data segment. It's stored in your data segment on the data memory. So that's why here A and B, you will get a result as a output as a garbage, and the X and Y should be 0. Just check it out. Are you able to? Yeah, these are the value that I'm not using here, or I have not initialized this value, but I'm getting this value 270688293, and the value of B is 32766. Again, this value I am not using, or I am not initialized. So this is known as a garbage value. But just look at the value of X and Y, it is both are 0 0. So if you have the pen and paper with you, you can note down it. The local variable having the default initial value as garbage value, and the global variable having the default initial value as a 0. Now there is again one more question related to this program. Why the local variable is having the garbage value as a default initial value, and why the global variable is having the default initial value as a 0? Because for every question actually there is a second question associated. So can anybody recall it now? Can anybody tell me? Out of the participant, can anybody tell me why this is so? Why global variable is having the default initial value as 0, and why local variable is having the default value as a garbage value? Suppose this question has been asked in your interview. You are sitting for the interview, and the company is, suppose, very big company, Apple company. For Apple company, you are giving the interview, and the interviewer asks this question. So what should be your answer? Can anybody try it? Okay, so your answer should be actually in a Boolean, yes or no. Are you able to give the answer yes or no? If you are not giving, certainly I am giving it, but I require the response from you itself. Can anybody tell me? No idea. Yes. The same reply I want. If you know, then clearly you can say that I don't know, sir. Then only I can tell you. Yeah, Chandra Mohan and Akhil Kumar only know. The remaining 8 knows the answer, I think. Yeah, Yutukari also know. Yeah, Pudi is also know.
So the local variables are basically they are initialized at compiling time. Like the address is already given or it's already initialized, right?
Hmm.
So no runtime cost, so it will not run. But global variables is used for different calls and different addresses. So it's better to like initialize them to 0. Runtime cost may not be needed.
But better to initialize. We have not initialized now. If it is not initialized, the compiler will initialize it to 0. Local variable not initialized, compiler will be initialized to a garbage value. But so why such a difference? Why global variable 0 and why local variable garbage? Do you know function call? How the function call will be happen?
Yeah, like we have used return 0.
Yes.
So it calls the main function like int main.
Yeah, but what happened when there is a function call? Are you able to recall the chapter in 8051 in embedded system? Actually, there is a 8051 a procedure call. How the procedure call be done? What happens when there is a function call? Actually, when there is a function call, so that function will be put into the stack memory. Whenever there is a new function call, that function will be put into the stack memory.
They do not have fixed memory locations.
Yes, it do not have. And what is stack memory? Stack memory, we know that here. Stack memory is known as LIFO, last in first out. So that's why if the main function is calling one more function, printf function. So above the main function, there is one more function named as a printf function. Okay, so I will explain you with this whiteboard. Okay, suppose in my program, first function is called as a main function. Okay, second function is called as suppose printf function. Third function call as suppose a display function. Suppose printf function call the display function. Okay, main function call printf, printf call the display, or instead of printf I'm using only print display. The display will call the fun1 function. Okay, so here the main call printf, the printf call display, display call fun1. Okay, so how it will get resolved in the memory? So actually there is one stack memory is there. So this is my stack memory. So what happen when there is a main function get called? The main function put here. This is my main function. This is my main function. Now whatever the local variable created in the main function are put it here. Now main function is having the two variables named as a and b. So the memory for the a and b is assigned to here. Now we know that here stack memory is the read write memory. It is a read write memory and it is not cleared every times. So whatever the content of that particular memory is get assigned to the a and b here. So that's why the value of local variable are always garbage value, because it is not cleared every time. It is the read write memory, just like your RAM memory. It is the read write memory. Every time the new function came, after completion of that function, it will go out. Now the main function call the printf. So suppose here the printf function call. Now what happened when there is a printf function call? The printf function is get inserted into the stack. It is known as a push operation. Now this is my printf function, print function. This is my print function. Now in the print function, actually which function get called here? Now the display function is get called. Now display function call, suppose this is my display function. Now if their display function call, what happened? Now main function call printf, printf call display. So one more push operation has been done, because main function has not overed, main function has not terminated, but from that main function you move to the printf. Whatever the instruction in printf get executed, but in that instruction there is a display function call. So that display function is again inserted into the your stack memory, and on the display function again there is one more function called as a fun1. Now fun1 again inserted. Now fun1 is again inserted. This is my fun1 function. Okay, so fun1 function call. Now fun1 function is not calling any function. So what happened if the fun1 function is not calling, so it execute all the instruction in the fun1 get terminated. After the fun1 get terminated, it will not go to the main function, it will go to the function to which this fun1 has been called. Fun1 has called the display, fun1 has been called by the display, so it will return to display, and the remaining instruction of the display will be get executed, and after termination of the display function again it will return to the print function. Now it will come back to that function call. After the print, suppose that function call, suppose 2 or 3 statements are there, it will execute the statement. Print function is over. After print function is over, again it will come back to the main function. When it will come back to the main function, now when the fun1 has completed its task and when it goes to the display function, what happened with the fun1? It is get deleted, so it get move out. When display completed, it is get deleted. Whatever the memory allocated to the display has been deleted, again it is get moved out. When display has terminated, it will come back to the printf. Now printf has executed whole things, it get terminated and it will go out. So your stack is only having only one function, main function remaining. Now main function also executed whole things, again main function executed, fully executed, again it will come out here, it will again come out, it will come out, and your stack is now empty. So this is actually happened when there is a function call. So here every time when you call the function, the variable is created inside that function. You call display function, variable is created into the display function. And when the display function has over, the whatever the variable created has been deleted. When it is over, the variable get deleted. So that's why the local variable is always created in stack memory. That's why the local variable is initialized by the garbage value, because it is not a cleared memory. It might happen that after the print function, again display to print, again main, and again main to display. It might happen that main is calling display function. Now on that printf function, there is a display function is now, second function is display function. So whatever the actually here variable, the previous value of that memory get taken here for that display. So that's why the memory is not get cleared every time. So the memory get only allocated, and whatever the content of that memory, it is get captured by your variable, and you will get the value of that variable, local variable, as a garbage value. But what happened with this x and y? Now x and y is a global variable. It is not created inside the function. You can see here, actually, are you able to see here my terminal? Here I am. So terminal, I want to share the terminal. Which terminal? Yes, this is a terminal. Okay, so you can see here, actually, in the terminal itself, here x and y are not created inside the function. It is created outside the function. So the memory for this x and y is allocated at the compile time, but the memory for a and b is allocated when the main function get called. So it is known as a runtime allocation of the memory. Here the memory for the a and b is allocated when there is a function call, but x and y is a fixed memory, and compiler will know that every time we want to create the x and y. So here at compile time, actually x and y is allocated in exe. In the exe itself, x and y is having its memory itself. Okay, so that's why here this is not stored in stack memory. This is stored in a special type of memory known as a data memory. So x and y is stored in data memory, and data memory is the shared memory for your application, and it is maintained by the operating system. So it is a cleared memory. So every variable allocated in your data memory is having the default initial value as 0. So have you get it? The default initial value, why the default initial value of the global variable is 0, and why the local variable default initial value as a garbage value. Now, are you clear with it? Yes, participant?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So local is created on stack, so that's why it is garbage, and a global variable created on data memory or the data segment, so that's why its default initial value is the 0 value. Got it? Okay, now you tell me, what about the assignment that I have given yesterday? I've given one yesterday assignment that you have to install the Ubuntu operating system or install the VirtualBox, and on that VirtualBox you have to actually install the Ubuntu operating system. So how many of you have done that assignment and you have to do your first program? How many of you have done the assignment? Just type me in your chat window if you
So
have.
I've installed VirtualBox, but the other one I've not installed, so I don't know how to install the second one.
Yeah, I will share you that both video. That video you can follow. Okay. Yes. Okay. So everyone has to be actually install, and you should try whatever I'm doing here. You should try it yourself on your PC or on your laptop. But suppose if you are not able to install, then actually you can use the code block. You can use the code block for one more. Code block is one of the IDE that we can use for the further programming. Just I'm sharing the screen. Where is my, okay, yes. So to install the code block, actually first you need to go to the Google and just type code block. If you are using Windows operating system and if you are not able to install the Ubuntu, then you can use this code block, because code block uses the GCC term, GCC compiler. So here this is the codeblock.org. Then after that you have to go to the downloads, and in the download there is a link, download a binary release, and in the binary release you just have to download this one, code block 20.0 MinGW setup exe. This MinGW is the C++ compiler. So the fourth one you should download, or I can copy this link and give it to you. Okay, no, you just need to go there. Okay, so actually the link is automatically generated. So just go to this website. I can copy this link here. Okay, yes. Just go to this website and just if you're using Windows operating system, then install this MinGW-setup. If you are using Linux operating system, then you can use one of it. And then if you are using Mac operating system, you can use this last one, codeblock mac.zip. Okay. So if you are unable to install it, Ubuntu operating system, then better to use the code block. How to use the code block, then I will tell you. But I prefer that first 3 or 4 lecture you should try with the terminal. If you are trying with the terminal, actually it is better for your future prospect, future career perspective. Okay, so for embedded programmer or as well as your software development, actually that particular terminal programming is very, very important one, and you should know all the commands, terminal commands. Okay, so I think we should stop today because it is already 5:20, and